Can the Heat take their fast-paced offense out west? Miami embarks on a 4-game road trip against some of the best teams in the league, and it could just define their season. We'll tell you how on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Join the Cookie Gang, become an everydayer by subscribing. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. We have a bunch to get to today. We're going to look ahead to the Heat's next big test of the season, including facing off on one Victor Wembanyama. We'll talk about all of that here in a second. But we have to start with the latest on Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is on a leave of absence due to the federal gambling-related charges against him. We knew that part, obviously, already. But here's what's new. It was reported today that the NBA is unilaterally ordering the Miami Heat to place Rozier's entire salary for the season, which is about $26.6 million, into an escrow account while he's on leave, essentially an account set aside for when Rozier, if and when Rozier returns, he can then collect on his salary. Currently, right now, he is not getting paid, but the Miami Heat are being ordered by the league to take what would be his payments and put it into the separate account and set that aside just in case he is reinstated. Okay. And the same, by the way, goes for Chauncey Billups for those of you who care about that. But obviously, if Rozier is cleared to return to the team, he would then receive those held payments in full. Here's where that puts the Miami Heat in a sticky situation, David. So obviously, they're not getting the salary cap relief from that. They're not paying Terry Rozier, but they're being told to put this money away and set it aside. So, you know, you and I talked about the possibility of Terry Rozier's contract getting voided. The NBA hasn't come down with a ruling on that, but, you know, Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald pointed this out. Like, if they've gone so far as to tell them to do this and set his money aside, it doesn't bode well for people who are hoping to have this contract voided. But we don't know. So we'll put a pin in that Kanish for now. But the real problem with this is because Terry Rozier is on leave, he does not count against the roster, while his money still counts against the salary cap. So Miami only has 13 players under contract right now. Right. And according to multiple reports, the league is still trying to figure out what to do about this. So I want to be fair and say there's nothing official on this. There's no ruling on this. And this entire thing is very unprecedented. The problem with having 13 players under contract as opposed to 14 is that the league minimum is 14. So currently the Heat are under the league requirement, and they have, under usual league rules, would have 2 weeks to fill that 14th roster spot. Here's the other problem with that. Miami is right up against the luxury tax. They waived Precious Achiuwa in part because they needed to stay under the luxury tax. They can't sign a veteran player even to the minimum and stay under the tax. And as we already pointed out, they're not getting any kind of salary relief, even in the short term. They're getting no salary relief whatsoever right now as of this moment. And things can change. But as of this moment, the NBA has not decided to give them any salary cap relief. So they're under the requirement. And if the league decides that they have to get back up to that requirement, which we don't know, the league could just give them either a pass and allow them to just carry 13 players, which is not awesome for the Heat, but it's not as if Terry Rozier was part of the regular rotation. But if there's an injury, we're already seeing an injury to Norm Powell, who's questionable for the Spurs game. Nikola Jovic is kind of in and out, is dealing with some lingering injuries and things like that. We already know that Tyler Hero and Kasparis Giacochonis are out. So, I mean, it doesn't take much time for injuries to start piling up here. And at that point, then you start maybe feeling the roster strain. But right now they're okay. But they still only have 13 players under contract, and they're paying a 14th player essentially into an escrow account and not getting any salary cap relief for that open roster spot right now. And they can't fill it without going over the luxury tax. So I don't know what the Heat do at this point, but they're kind of getting screwed here if this is what the final outcome of this is, or not the final outcome, but even if this is sort of the prolonged state of how things are going to be while the NBA tries to sort this out and the FBI tries to sort this out, It's not an awesome spot for Miami.
I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but it just does feel like Miami is really getting the raw end of the stick at this point. It's just from the very beginning, as more and more information comes out, it seems like the league has just been very much opposed to trying to do what they're supposed to do and help all the teams in the association, and to make sure that Miami doesn't get screwed just to accommodate the Charlotte Hornets. Like, and I mean, in terms of that, they knew about his investigation. They knew that this was going to be something that was hanging over Rozier.
The
And
NBA knew?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And,
This wasn't clear. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Yeah, the league knew that that Rozier was being investigated, that there was potential involvement there, and they were okay in accepting or allowing the trade to take place. So that's one thing already that they're kind of screwed Miami over for. And now that we're finding out more and more information, now they're in this really weird, precarious position where it's like they could decide, well, you've got to take on one more player because that's the league minimum, but at the same time, you still have to pay this player
and potentially go over the luxury tax, which they were trying to avoid in the first place. And they can't pay this new player. And first of all, and 10 days aren't allowed until January. So that's not an option. And so they can't pay this new player without technically going over the luxury tax, which is a problem, right? So the NBA could step in and say, and again, this is also unprecedented. Maybe the league comes in and gives them some sort of exception, right? And they say, here, look, here's a crazy Terry Rozier related gambling FBI investigation exception, right? And they could say you could sign a player and that player does not count against your cap. And that would be a pretty good exception. Like, okay, go out. It's a minimum or whatever. Maybe it's like the disabled player exception is like 50% of the player. That's maybe it's, but let's just call it a minimum contract. But then even in that scenario, David, they're telling you, hey, you have to go out and spend, let's call it $2.5 million on a veteran minimum player. And you still have to pay Terry Rozier's salary. If I'm Mickey Arison, I'm pissed about it. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Now I have to go out and spend $2.5 million to get up to this floor because you sent our player away?
Right.
That you allowed us to trade for in the first place when Adam Silver went on Amazon Prime Video or whatever the other day and said, yeah, we knew about this?
It does not bode well. It doesn't. Like, I have to believe that the league is going to make the right choice, but nothing that they've done so far would indicate that. I'm honestly just going on blind faith and expecting the best out of people and even a major organization.
Well, what's the right
like
choice?
NBA. The right choice is for them to say, you know what, the money can be put aside, but it doesn't count against the cap, and that in some kind of unprecedented move, that if he's allowed back, which, let's be honest, there's no way Terry's going to be allowed back.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, he could be cleared.
I know everything's alleged at this point.
Yeah.
But what's the FBI going to be like? Oopsie, we've trailed you and Sugar and Vez and everybody else.
I think we've seen this administration admit their wrongness several times.
Have we?
That was a joke.
I mean, that's not to say that there hasn't been wrongness, but I don't know that they're necessarily copping to it. But
they're usually pretty self-aware about their mistakes. We don't have to do this. Okay,
I'm good. I'm getting a little sarcasm alert here.
Yes.
No, I think it just feels like the league has to do the right thing. And I don't want to be like, oh, Mr. Judgment here and being able to decide arbitrarily what's right and what's wrong. But if you're telling me that a player that you knew was under a federal investigation and you were like, yeah, no, it's okay, go ahead and trade him anyway. Like, that's a lot. Like, again, and I made the point when the news first broke. It's like allowing a player with some kind of a broken bone or some kind of major physical defect to just be allowed to be. They don't.
That's why we have physicals, right?
Like,
exactly.
That's the physical. So they should have allowed this too. They should have done some kind of background and been like, at least warn the Heat. It's like, hey, by the way, this is a player who might eventually get cut or he might get arrested or something.
That's it. You nailed it, David. At least tell the Heat, hey, by the way, this is happening. When this trade gets called into the league office, by the way, just so you know, this player's being investigated. Whatever you want to do with that information, go ahead. You could still trade for him.
Yeah.
But here's the info. At that, we're not going to tell you what to do. We're just going to give you all the information. And that was they probably
would have extorted a first-round pick out of the Hornets. It's like, oh, you don't want that guy on your roster. I get it. Now,
and by the way, we don't know that. We also don't know that the Hornets knew. We don't know that the Hornets knew about this investigation. We only know
their
that the
PR
NBA knew about this.
Their PR has told Barry basically almost the exact same thing. They've almost said it's like, you know what, they're not confirming nor denying.
Correct. So I want to be careful though in terms of like what we're saying that people knew for sure and what the facts are. But although I do find that hard to believe, but we don't know for sure.
Of course.
And I do want to appreciate where the NBA is with this. I do think that they are facing a difficult dilemma where they did, quote unquote, investigate Terry Rozier, basically asked him if he did it, and he said no. And they said, "Can we see your phone?" And he was like, "Sure." And then that was good enough. But they cleared him. And then all of this happens. And for them, I understand them not wanting to go so far as to then void the contract because they said, well, we just cleared him. And then the FBI said something different. So they look like they have egg on their face for sure. But I think I understand the desire to see this process through before taking this guy's money away. Like, I understand that. And by the way, you would never get away with that with the Players Association. They're already fighting this. They already came out with a statement already. And he's just because they're putting his salary into escrow. Imagine if they just took the salary away altogether. So that would never fly. So I get that. And they can't just take the salary off the books for now, because what if the FBI investigation gets to the point where they say, like, oops, like, actually, no, he's cleared. And then what happens? Miami's been operating like they've had $26 million extra dollars laying around. Turns out they don't. And so this is really the only position for the NBA to be in. That said, there are other ways for them to do right by the Heat, whether it's the compensatory pick that we were talking about before, or some sort of exception that allows them to do this, or flatly just, could the NBA just step in and pay for the other player so that Mickey Harrison and the Heat don't have to pay for it? You know, like, and just, hey, that was our bad. Here's $2.5 million in a sorry note to pay for, bring Precious Achiuwa back or whoever it is, right? It doesn't really matter. But
they bought the Hornets at one point. Like, it's not like the league can't do this. They have stepped in unprecedented ways in the past in order to do what is necessary here. It's just, I don't know. This is a very strange situation. It doesn't seem like it's going to get clarity anytime soon. I'm hoping for the best. Maybe that's just naive of me to expect the best. And yet I can understand already that Heat fans are expecting the worst, because it does feel like
is a Hall of Famer. Just inducted to the Hall of Fame. You got it. He has respect around the league. I'm with you, David. Maybe I'm overly optimistic here, but I do feel like the NBA at some point will have to do right. It's not a problem right now for the Heat. It can be a problem very soon to not have the ability to sign this other player and all these things. And it's the weird, and all this stuff gets into weird CBA stuff. And like, should we get rid of these taxes and these aprons and just all these weird complications about it? But that's it on the Terry Rozier stuff for now. Let's talk more basketball, because it's been really exciting here in Miami. We've got a big matchup in San Antonio on Thursday. Miami Heat, up-tempo offense versus Victor Wembanyama, who is one of the 5 best players in the NBA now, clearly. Big test. We'll talk about it next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is Training Reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make the work easier. But now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. And that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. You'll love how Rippling removes the bottlenecks and busy work that slow teams down. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access, it runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And it's seriously simple to use. It gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Heat play the Spurs on Thursday night in San Antonio, kicking off a 4-game trip through San Antonio, Los Angeles, 2 games against Lakers and Clippers, and then in Denver, which is a notoriously tough place to play. We'll talk about those last 3 games here in a second, but let's just start with the one right in front of us. Heat at Spurs, and the big thing for Miami is, how do you stop Victor Wembanyama? I kind of teased it going into the break there, but just I want your thoughts. You know, we both cover the NBA, you know, for Locked On NBA game night as well. Have you done a Spurs game yet for game night? I'm sure you've watched the Spurs, but have you done?
Okay. Yeah, but I have not.
But you'll get this one.
Yes, we'll be talking about it. So it'll be Thursday night. I'll be recording after the Heat Spurs. So I'll be recording this show and then Locked On NBA too. So I get to talk about it in a less, not necessarily biased platform, but it's interesting. Look, you know me, I'm somewhat of a Wembanyama hater, just because I think he's been kind of proclaimed as the next face of the franchise of the league in a way that I don't think he's fully earned yet. And I think he's playing at a really high level now. I recognize that he's been incredibly impactful for the first 4 games of the season. And I know that it's going to be a difficult challenge for the Heat, undoubtedly. But I'm just kind of Mr. Pump the Brakes kind of guy. I was the same way about Zion Williamson. And I remember talking to you and just remembering the hype about Zion, and everybody was ready to proclaim him again. I think we kind of just do this in terms of like fandom and covering the league. We're just kind of looking for the next big thing. And sometimes the next big thing doesn't pay off. It's not to say that Wembanyama isn't going to be a great player. He might be a generational type player. I know he certainly has that skill set and the kind of physical tools that no one has ever seen before. But I'm still kind of on the fence about just how good he can potentially be.
Well, the way he's played so far this year,
I get it.
There's no question what this guy is doing currently. I understand the concerns about durability. Can he stay healthy at 7'6"? Like, can he just stay out there? Those are always concerns with guys that large. But right now, we haven't seen anybody ever do the things that he's done, right? Like opening night against the Mavericks, step back threes, blocking shots, and then dunking at the other end, driving right and dunking over or scoring over Anthony Davis like he's a pylon. Like, we've never seen it before with this guy. And I think I don't know. I think he's the top 5 guy in the league. I think Jokic is number 1. I don't think there's a debate about it. I think Giannis is number 2, and I don't really think there's a debate about that. And then I think
the MVP.
I think you've got Shea and Luka, and I think we've had these guys sort of set aside as the top 4 guys, just, you know, in whatever order I suppose you want to go in. But like, we gotta, like, those are the top 4 guys, and then go ahead and debate, like, you know, 5 through 15 or whatever. I think Wemby has cracked that. I think now Wemby is in that top 5. And you just set these aside, order them however you want, but we just set them aside. That's your top 5. Order those guys however you want within that top 5 group, and then debate the rest of them. Victor Wembanyama has been that good, and I think he's arrived in that way. Let's talk about how to defend him, though, right? He's still an impossible matchup right now.
Yeah.
But the Miami Heat have had success against Victor Wembanyama in the past. Now, without Duncan Robinson, I don't know who's going to juke him out and score against him. But
clearly.
There we go. Yeah. But defending him, they do have the bodies, right? So I anticipate that Kel'el, Ware, and Bam Adebayo will start, and they'll throw both of them at him. You'll see them help at the nail the way that they always do. Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, like, they'll get physical with him when he's out there and things like that. But with what Victor Wembanyama is doing right now, it's different than the past 2 seasons, is he's not really shooting those threes as much, right? He's driving. He's using this physicality. He's getting to the line twice as much as he did last year, taking half as many threes. Like, he's using that physicality now and making plays for his teammates. But I do think that Miami could potentially, they have a lot of bodies that have played well against Victor Wembanyama in the past. So it'll be a big test to get for them. So I don't know if there's more that you want to dive into that matchup defensively, but go ahead.
I mean, I just think Ware, that's the key defensive matchup for him. He's going to be tasked to do so, and that's fine. This is why he's the starter. He's got the skill set. He's got the length. He's undersized in comparison to Wembanyama, obviously, and yet I do think that he is. Yeah, I do think that he can hold his own to a certain degree, and I think we're going to see a lot of help when Wembanyama puts the ball down, or if he tries to post up or anything along those lines. And I think Davion Mitchell is going to be key in that regard because I think that's just what he's been doing. I mean, more effectively, I would say this season than even last season, where he just feels like he's constantly roaming all over the court. It's almost like he's as good a scorer as he was, a complimentary scorer as he was in shooter, specifically last season when he joined the Miami. It seems like he's almost sacrificed that to a certain degree to just concentrate on playmaking and being the most versatile defender possible. Like his help defense has been ridiculous. He's constantly scrambling all over and helping anybody else in any kind of help situation. So I think he's going to be tasked with that. I think that he's going to be able to sag off of whoever he's guarding. Wembanyama does average almost 3 assists per game, so it's not like he's incapable of making passes out to teammates too. And obviously, he is such a central focal point for what the Spurs do offensively that everybody kind of plays off that. So you do have to consider that. But I think Miami has the solid defenders in Wiggins and Bam Adebayo that are long enough, versatile enough, quick enough to break up those passes. Like they're going to work through Wembanyama as they should. But if he's forced into a tough matchup against Khalil and he can hold his own to a certain degree, and then he's forced to either put the ball down, that's where you get Mitchell to help out and maybe force a turnover, or if he's forced to pass out of that, even if they wind up doubling him and he's forced to pass out of that, then perhaps you could even get a guy like Wiggins or Bam intercepting those passes and maybe igniting their fast break opportunities, which we've seen has been such a key part of what has made them such an offensive powerhouse. Just to speak in general, not even about this matchup, Miami obviously playing at such an incredibly fast pace. Their offense has been ridiculous. Second best point differential in the league right now. Guess who number one is? San Antonio.
They look great, man. I mean, and we might even see them put Bam on Wemby just to kind of get that lower body strength going and keep him away from the basket a little bit. And then we've seen it before.
Tower over.
Well, no, but and then Kel'el Ware comes over on the help side and then kind of crowds them. I'm just saying we've seen it before. Spo will mix it up. We'll see some zone. We'll see all of it. I want to talk about the pace though, because we're talking about trying to stop Victor Wembanyama offensively. Victor Wembanyama's calling card is his defense. This is the guy overwhelmingly selected. As long as he plays 65 games and qualifies, is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. And so far, he's playing like it. He is holding opponents to 17 percentage points less than their typical scoring averages this season. That's insane. That's insane. That's turning players into different players. That's how good he is defensively. However, this is the ultimate test for the Heat's up-tempo offense, I think. Because you know what, you know how you can take away Victor Wembanyama's rim protection? Get to the rim before he does. And if you're able to just outrun Wemby, and he's not athletic, but if you can outrun Wemby and just get to the rim before he gets there, that's a way to counter it. And at the pace that Miami's playing, off of makes and misses, if you could kind of take the Spurs by surprise and just outrun Wembanyama to the other end of the floor, if the Heat can do it successfully and win this game, that could be a blueprint for other teams to follow across the league when they're playing San Antonio.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a good strategy.
Yeah, right. It sounds good.
I mean, and it's not like they're one-dimensional. Like Wembanyama is obviously the key point there, but they're a well-rounded group.
Dylan Harper's playing great. Stephon Castle's taking a leap. Yeah.
I mean, and they're missing De'Aaron Fox, right? I mean, they're only going to get better. So right now they look pretty dangerous. Again,
and right now they're still outscoring teams when Wembanyama's on the bench. So it's not even like when he leaves, you get like that relief. It's like by a fraction of a point, but it's
now it is early this season. So you have to take that with a grain of salt both ways. We can't say Miami looks fantastic. They look like there could be a potential contender, et cetera, and then dismiss what San Antonio has done. But I will say San Antonio's schedule does look, at least on paper, going into the season, a little bit soft. They've played the Raptors, which is not a great team, perhaps. They played the Nets, also not a great team. The Pelicans, who knows? It all depends on game. And the Mavericks that are as up and down as any team could potentially be. So I would say that they've got the benefit of some easy teams early on in their schedule. But again, that's not to dismiss what Wembanyama and the Spurs are capable of. So absolutely a great matchup. And I think it's going to be a real test. And it's just, this is exactly what Miami needs. And I'm more confident today, the day before the game, than I would have been at any point last season, because I think we've done this all year long. We've done this for multiple seasons, where I think even when Jimmy was there and maybe the regular season wasn't viewed necessarily as crucial as it is now, they at least knew that when it was a big game or a big matchup, they were up for the challenge because they wanted to prove a point. They wanted to make sure that everybody recognized this. It still goes through Miami. We're still here and we're still dangerous, even if you don't think so. And I obviously did not see that last season, and maybe even the season before we didn't see it either. So it's been a couple of seasons where those big matchups, not necessarily something that Miami responds to. This team feels a little different. The sense of urgency is certainly there. While the vibes are good and everything else like that, the pressure from day one of training camp has been there, and I think they understand the sense of urgency greater than they have in a long time. And I think they look at this matchup and go, this is a real challenge. To hell with the Knicks. Like, as good as the Knicks are, as good as the Magic are, it doesn't really matter. Like, this is a big-time matchup, especially against an undefeated team.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be important for them going into it and knowing, you know what, this is a statement game for us.
Yep. Nobody's scared of the Knicks. They're good. Nobody's scared of the Knicks. People are scared of Victor Wembanyama. This is a real test. It's only the first part of this big test. We'll talk about the rest of it next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. We'll be right back.
So after the Spurs game, the Heat will travel to Los Angeles for a game against the Lakers on Sunday. And then on the second night of a back-to-back, it's the Clippers on Monday, November 3rd. And then they travel to Denver Wednesday to complete this little 4-game trip. And of those games, it looks like right now, at least, that the Nuggets is the toughest one. LeBron James is going to be out for the Lakers. It looks like Luka will also miss that game. So that game, not as tough as it looked initially before the season started here, but Austin Reeves has been scoring 50 points and he's capable of going off. And again, we don't know when guys like Norm Powell are going to be back, right? Like this groin strain that he suffered in shoot around on Tuesday morning. Eric Spoelstra said after the game Tuesday night, like, we'll see, which didn't give me a ton of confidence. And it's one thing to score against Charlotte. It's going to be another thing to score against San Antonio or the Lakers, who have good, their defense isn't awesome, but they have good principles, and they're certainly more disciplined than the Hornets are. And then the Clippers were the third-ranked defense in the league last year. They haven't been quite that this year, but the personnel is definitely there. And with Denver, their defense hasn't been awesome, but you're playing against Nikola Jokic.
In Denver.
And an offense, by the way, that looks unstoppable right now. So this is a very, very tough test for the Heat. We said that the start of the schedule was a tough test for the Heat, and they've passed that with flying colors, but things are getting choppy right now, David.
Yeah, no, and this is a defining point for the season because as much as buzz as there is now for the first 4 games, it could all look very much the exact opposite after the end of this road trip. That they might be dressed down somewhat and exposed to a certain degree. And if that's the case, then you have to wonder, well, which group is the real Miami Heat? Is it the one that won the first 4 games, or 3 of the first 4 games, or the one that's kind of struggled against teams out west? And look, any road trip is a challenging one. As you said, look, you're going up against a really good Spurs team, 2 tough challenges in Los Angeles, and then going into Denver, where the Heat, what was the last time they won there? Like 16 years ago or something like that. It's been some kind of ridiculous statistic where they haven't won in Denver in quite some time. That's an interesting matchup too. Does Bam pick up Jokic? Do you test Ware and say, go ahead and try your luck? Knowing that Aaron Gordon.
You can't really play off of Aaron Gordon anymore. Apparently he's an awesome shooter these days.
Yeah, did you not know? Yeah. I don't know if I talked about this. I brought it up in Locked On NBA. He hit like in total, his rookie year, he hit 13 threes and he hit like 11 of them that night. Like he almost totaled his whole rookie season's worth of shooting in one night. It was a ridiculous performance. Like he is such a great complimentary player.
Yeah.
Miami could have had him for a song too. It's such a damn shame.
I know you've been on that one.
Movie.
And Tim Hardaway Jr. off the bench for them. He had 20 points for the night. Like, so this, like the Heat right now have the number one offense in the league. The Nuggets, I think everybody would agree, is just a better, a more trustworthy offense, right? They've got Jokic, the Heat don't. But it's going to be a huge test for that team. And, Mile High, all that stuff. Can the Heat keep that pace in that game? Now, we're getting a little too in the weeds maybe with this game that's a week away, but I did want to do a quick update on the injury report. Norm Powell is officially listed as doubtful for Thursday's game in San Antonio. So that's going to be tough if they're missing him. I said the same thing against Charlotte, but again, the Spurs are a very different team than the Hornets. Nikola Jovic also questionable with a right hip contusion. So we'll see what happens. But the Heat, going back to our first segment, like you could start missing bodies and all of a sudden it's like, we've got 9 or 10 guys available. And we're on the road for 4 games. What gives? So they could be put in a pretty tough spot here. So if injuries are that big of a concern, maybe you don't walk away from this trip being like, you know what? Maybe we're not what we thought we were. Maybe you're able to write it off to injuries a little bit. But look, I'm not going to underestimate what this team can do. I think that this game against the Spurs is winnable. I think the game against the Lakers and the Clippers is winnable. We'll see where this roster is at this, health-wise and everything, where it stands going into Denver, because that's definitely going to be a tough matchup. But these are winnable games. And if the Heat can come out of this 2-2, 3-1, whatever, like we have to start having some different kinds of conversations about this team than we're already having even now.
Yeah, if they go 3-1, or forget if they go 4-0. If they go 4-0, I'm already booking my ticket for the parade. If they go 3-1 on the road trip, I think it would be really impressive, and I think it would really, again, support our optimistic view of what they're capable of, because that is as tough a challenge. We talked about it all offseason when the schedule came out. This was going to be such a difficult start to the season, and then we find out about the Tyler Hero news, and you're like, oh right. Wow, what does this team do now? And somehow they found a way to exceed even our expectations. So it's a really difficult challenge, but if they can live up to it, and if they do wind up coming out 3-1, that would be very, very impressive showing.
Chances for statement wins, right? I mean, you've got the Spurs 100%. Undefeated. The Nuggets 100%. are what people consider them. I put them in a tier right below Oklahoma City in terms of title contenders. The Clippers are pretty up and down, but beating them would still be a statement. That's a pretty loaded roster. The Lakers are injured, so I wouldn't consider them a statement win. But just the way we poked holes in the Spurs schedule so far, I mean, you could do the same thing with the Miami Heat, right? They Absolutely. Lost to an Orlando Magic team that doesn't look very good right now. They did blow the doors off of Memphis, but they're very up and down. The Knicks are still trying to figure things out right now. The Hornets stink. We knew that already. But, you could do the same thing. And so going on this trip, an opportunity to get 1 or 2 statement wins, I think it's a really big deal for this Heat team. And I think you rightly pointed out, they seem very motivated to go out and do that. That'll do it for us today. Catch our recap of the Spurs game Thursday night for Friday morning. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. We'll catch you right back here on Thursday night.